Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If copy system in Naruto. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, a quick update, the stories, What If Reborn in Naruto World and What If Transmigrated as Harry Potter, are going on hold soon, as we have almost caught up with the author. So once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the next project should be on this channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if becoming a mangaka in One Piece world? What if Dragon deck user in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. What if Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader? I will be setting up a poll for this, so please vote in the poll and let me know which two stories you'd like to see next on the channel. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 151, The Second Shinobi War Ends. Congratulations, Master. You have completed the mission to help Konoha secure victory in the Second Shinobi World War. Reward, Divine Replication Card X1. Finally. That mission took ages, Shin muttered to himself. It had been 3 years since Shin left Konoha. He was now 15 years old. Even after Kumo and Iwa withdrew from the conflict, Konoha still needed 3 more years to subdue Suna and Aim, thereby ending the war. Sometimes, Shin felt so impatient that he nearly intervened himself to speed things up. The war had dragged on mostly because of a stalemate with Suna. Hiruzen had led Konoha's forces deep into the Land of Wind to force Tsunagekyou's surrender. However, the third Kazekage refused to back down, and fighting in the scorching deserts proved challenging for Konoha shinobi. Had Suna not been running out of resources, they would have fought on. They were experts at desert warfare, making Konoha's job exceptionally difficult. On the Yamagakure side, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade led the assault, ultimately defeating Hanzo of the Salamander. Unlike in the original story, where the Sannin lost to Hanzo, the presence of Shin had shifted many things, especially Tsunade's strength. Shin had taught Tsunade powerful jutsu like Rasengan and Wind Style, Rasen Shuriken, and he also shared a copy of the Forbidden Scroll. She mastered multiple advanced techniques from it, transforming her from a pure brawler medic into an all-round powerhouse. During these 3 years, Shin himself finally succeeded in mastering Wood Release, not the incomplete version, but the real deal. He even learned Sage Art, Wood Release, marking a crowning achievement in his training. With the war concluded, Shin now lived in the Land of Whirlpools. After traveling all over the shinobi world, he and his companions had settled here for about half a year, enjoying a cozy life. You're back at last. Another hour and I would have dragged you home, Kushina said when she spotted Shin returning. Dinner's about to start. Of course I'm back, Shin replied casually. Then he added in a wary tone, oh, by the way, you didn't cook today, right? Kushina folded her arms. If I said I did, would you refuse to eat? Shin quickly shook his head, pretending seriousness. Never. Even if you made it, I'd finish every bite with a straight face. But in truth, he was relieved to smell delicious aromas that almost certainly did not come from Kushina's cooking. Shin took his seat at the table. After dinner, he announced, we're heading back to Konoha. Why? Makoto asked, blinking curiously. The war is over. Tsunade's going back. She told us to visit her in Konoha after the war ended. Shin and how did you know the war ended? Did you sneak off to see Tsunade Nichin? Conan asked timidly. Thwack! Ow! Conan clutched her head, teary-eyed. Shin flicked her forehead again and huffed. What do you mean sneak? As if I need to hide? So, you went openly? Kushina interjected, eyeing him. Even Makoto laid down her chopsticks and watched. No, I have special sources, Shin said, clearing his throat. In truth, the system had simply confirmed the mission's completion, letting him know that the war had officially ended. After dinner, they packed essential items and set off. As they walked, Makoto couldn't help voicing a concern. Can we really just return to Konoha after all that's happened? It feels a bit awkward. They were not classified as missing nin, yet their relationship with Konoha was tense. Kushina shrugged. Why overthink it? Does that old man, Sarutobi Hiruzen, dare chase us out? Besides, we're not planning on staying anyway. Shin, why not just teleport us there with your spacetime ninjutsu? Kushina suggested. Because for all we know, Tsunade might not be back in Konoha yet, Shin said. No point rushing. Let's enjoy the journey. He had another reason for visiting Konoha. He intended to speak with the Hyuga clan. Specifically, Shin sought any clue to the rumored portal leading to the moon. His travels hadn't yielded results, and the Hyuga's unique Byakugan lore might hold a hint. After all, Shin still had a mission involving the Otsutsuki clan on the moon, a quest tied to a divine replication card reward. That meant the ill-fated moon-dwelling Otsutsuki were next on his list. In the end, perhaps only Tonari Otsutsuki would remain. Then again, Tonari wasn't even born yet and might never be. Traveling leisurely for several days, they arrived at Konoha. Upon entering the village, Shin sensed multiple Umbu eyes trailing him. But these watchers soon darted away, presumably to inform Hiruzen that Shin had returned. Considering Shin's power, it was no surprise they deemed him more hazardous than an average S-rank missing nin. Shin ignored it all and headed straight for the old Senju compound. Rumor had it that the Konoha forces were back, meaning Tsunade was certainly home. Inside the modest courtyard where Shin and the others once stayed, they found Tsunade. Kushina rolled her eyes. Look at her expression, Shin, zero surprise or welcome. Let's go if she doesn't want us here. I've been back for days. You're only just showing up? Tsunade's eyes narrowed. We've been in the land of whirlpools, news travels slow. Shin said, making an excuse. Shin and weren't you the one who said there was no rush? We took a week on the road because, Konan said. My dear Konan, why so serious? Shin ruffled her hair, a strained smile on his face. So you never gave me a second thought, huh? Tsunade scowled. Humph. Why should Shin care about you anyway? Kushina interjected, glaring. Chapter 152, Visiting the Hyuga. Shin, exasperated by Tsunade and Kushina's mutual hostility, stepped between them before a brawl erupted. Is Nawaki home? Shin asked Tsunade. He left on a mission 2 days ago. Not back yet. Tsunade shook her head. Jiraiya hasn't returned to Konoha, has he? How did you know? Tsunade looked at Shin in surprise. I not only know he hasn't returned, but I also know he took on a few apprentices. Shin said with a mysterious smile. I'm not sure how you gleaned that, Tsunade admitted. But yes, Jiraiya brought 2 war orphans from Amagakure under his wing. One apparently has Uzumaki blood. She recalled the red-haired boy named Nagato. Thus, even without Konan and Aim, Yahiko and Nagato still became Jiraiya's pupils. Another Uzumaki? Kushina said, astonished. Just because the clan fell doesn't mean some didn't escape, Kushina. Shin shrugged. Tsunade-nichan, you're set on leaving Konoha, right? Mikoto asked Tsunade. I'd feel better if you just stayed here, Tsunade. Konoha was founded by your grandfather. Your Kushina tried to persuade her. I don't need advice, Tsunade retorted icily, cutting Kushina off. She had decided this 3 years ago and wasn't about to waver. Kushina clenched her fists. Tension crackled. Admittedly, Kushina had grown far stronger in recent years, strong enough to think she could defeat Tsunade. But Tsunade hadn't been slacking either, so an actual fight between them would be anybody's guess. Meanwhile, the Sandaime Hokage had already heard that Shin was roaming Konoha. He frowned. Why was Shin back? He couldn't ignore this. He didn't know how to handle it. Should he monitor Shin or leave him alone? If he monitored Shin, Shin would definitely notice and might be angered. Konoha, still recovering from the war, couldn't afford to provoke him. And even if they hadn't suffered losses in the war, they still couldn't afford to provoke him. But if they left him alone, that wouldn't work either. The relationship between Konoha and Shin was strained, to say the least. What if Shin did something to harm Konoha? In the end, Hiruzen decided it was safest to trust Tsunade's presence as a calming influence. He then focused on dealing with the aftermath of the war. Suna wanted to buy back the One-Tails. He was considering it. Shin, you're going to the Hyuga clan? Tsunade was surprised. Shin didn't have any ties to the Hyuga clan. Yeah, I have some important business. I'll be going now. Shin didn't elaborate. He left Tsunade and the others behind, making his way alone to the Hyuga compound. The Hyuga compound wasn't far from the Senju compound. Shin soon arrived. It was a magnificent estate, worthy of one of Konoha's most powerful clans. Inform the Hyuga clan head that Uzumaki Shin is here to visit. Shin didn't barge in. He spoke to one of the guards. The guard's eyes went wide. He'd never personally met Shin, but the name alone was enough to warrant urgent respect. He hurried to pass the message. Moments later, the Hyuga clan head himself emerged. He'd half expected a hoax, but the man at the gate truly was the legendary Uzumaki Shin. Though relieved, the clan head couldn't help feeling wary. Shin's reputation was formidable, to put it mildly. He had witnessed Shin's power on the battlefield during the Second Shinobi World War. Hyuga clan head, I apologize for this intrusion, Shin said. The clan head gave a wry smile. Even if Shin was intruding, he wouldn't mind. This was the man who had humiliated the Sandaime and walked away unscathed. He'd also proven unstoppable on the battlefield. Uzumaki Shin-sama, please come in. He even offered a polite bow, an honor he never gave Hiruzen. Crossing Shin might well mean destruction for the Hyuga clan. They called him the Reaper of the Shinobi world for a reason. Leading Shin into the main hall, the clan head ordered their finest tea prepared. But Shin's focus wasn't refreshments. He cleared his throat. Clan head, I have some matters I'd like to inquire about. A bead of sweat rolled down the clan head's temple. He had no idea what Shin could want, but it had to be big. Has your clan ever heard of a group known as the Otsutsuki clan? Shin asked. He wasn't expecting much, but he was hoping for a surprise. Otsutsuki clan? The clan head looked puzzled. After a pause, he shook his head. I've never heard of them. Shin studied his expression and realized he was telling the truth. The Hyuga likely had no record of a 1,000-year-old clan that migrated to the moon. It wasn't surprising that even a clan like the Hyuga was in the dark about the Otsutsuki. Chapter 153, There Are Other Ways. Clan head, would it be possible for me to see the historical records of the Hyuga clan? Shin asked. Even though the clan head didn't know about the Otsutsuki clan, that didn't mean there was no record of them in the Hyuga archives. The clan head's expression instantly darkened. This was out of the question. Even if the request came from the feared Reaper of the Shinobi world, it still wasn't permissible. Those records contained the clan's secret gentle fist techniques, Hyuga heritage passed down through generations. At the moment, he even suspected Shin's true goal might be to steal the gentle fist style. The gentle fist was useless without the Byakugan, but he still didn't want to share it with outsiders. If it leaked, someone could develop a way to counter gentle fist, and that would spell disaster for the Hyuga, who rely on it for their livelihood. Seeing his reaction, Shin said, Hyuga clan head, I'm only interested in the history of the Hyuga clan, not your secret techniques. The clan head's expression softened. If Shin was only interested in their history, that was fine. He couldn't refuse someone as powerful as Shin. Our records are very important, but considering you're my son's classmate, I suppose you can take a look. The clan head's sons were Hayashi and Hisashi, who had been classmates with Shin at the academy. He was just trying to build a relationship with Shin. If it weren't for Shin's strength, he wouldn't even bother. In reality, he was simply trying to forge a positive relationship with Shin. This classmate favor was just an excuse. If Shin weren't so powerful, the clan head definitely would not have entertained the idea. Thank you, clan head. Shin's gratitude pleased the clan head. The clan head led Shin to the Hyuga archives, removing all the scrolls related to the gentle fist. He didn't care about the rest. Shin could read them if he wanted to. He didn't think they were valuable. Shin activated his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and flipped through the texts at lightning speed, skimming line after line in mere seconds. It took him half a day to finish, but he was disappointed. There was nothing he was looking for. He did find a mention of the Otsutsuki clan, but it was just a brief mention, nothing detailed. And there was no information about the underground passage to the moon. My thanks, Lord Hyuga. I'll be on my way. Shin didn't linger. After Shin left, Hiruzen Sarutobi became suspicious. He wondered what Shin's motive was for visiting the Hyuga clan. Shin hadn't tried to hide his visit, so it wasn't surprising that Hiruzen knew about it. Hiruzen was becoming paranoid. He was constantly trying to guess Shin's intentions. Meanwhile, Shin had returned to Tsunade's house. You two look like you've been fighting, Shin remarked as he noticed Tsunade and Kushina's somewhat disheveled appearance. We were just sparring. I didn't expect to lose, Kushina grumbled. Right after Shin left, Kushina and Tsunade had clashed, apparently irritating each other until they agreed to trade blows. Although neither was truly hurt, they knew when to hold back. Kushina ended up worse off, looking distinctly more ragged than Tsunade. Give me 2 years, and I'll definitely be stronger than you, Kushina declared. You can talk all you like. Right now, I'm the winner. So Kushina, you're doing the laundry. Tsunade grinned triumphantly. They had made a bet, whoever lost had to do the laundry. Kushina was annoyed, but she wouldn't go back on her word. By the way, Shin, you don't look happy. Did you fail to achieve your goal? Mikoto asked. Bingo, but no prize for guessing right. Shin sat down and poured himself a cup of tea. Shin, what were you trying to do? Can you tell us? Kushina asked, curious. I'll tell you. I want to go to the moon. But finding the passage to the moon is proving to be difficult. Fortunately, I have other methods. What? Tsunade, Kushina, Mikoto, and even Konan all stared at him, baffled. Are you kidding? You want to go to the moon? Why don't you just fly to the sun while you're at it? Kushina scoffed. Shin pinched her cheek and pulled. Ow. That hurts. Shin, you jerk. Let go. Kushina yelled. Will you stop making fun of me now? Shin released her. And I'm not joking. Getting to the moon isn't as far-fetched as you think. Even if Shin didn't manage to locate the underground passage, he had other methods. Technically, he could simply fly there using his abilities. The perfect Susanoo had wings. They weren't just for show, meaning flight was possible. Of course, it would be a hassle, and even at high speed, flying all the way there wouldn't be easy. Shin and why do you want to go to the moon? Konan asked curiously. Everyone was curious, but Konan was the first to ask. I sense an evil presence there. I'm going to eliminate them and save the world. Shin said righteously. The Otsutsuki clan did want to destroy the world. To the people of the shinobi world, they were indeed an evil force. That still sounds unbelievable, Kushina muttered. People living on the moon. No, it's real, the Otsutsuki clan lives there, and my goal is to eliminate them. Shin insisted. His serious expression was enough to convince Tsunade, Kushina, and Mikoto. They no longer doubted him. Konan had never doubted him to begin with, she believed in him wholeheartedly. I always thought the moon was just a lifeless rock, Mikoto said. Mikoto, you weren't the only one. I thought the same, Tsunade said. Shin, how do you know about the Otsutsuki clan? Kushina asked. I like to collect information on the shinobi world. That's how I found out. Shin said, making up an excuse. Chapter 154, Flying to the Moon. They stayed one more day in Konoha. Early the following morning, Shin decided to leave with the others. Tsunade informed Hiruzen Sarutobi of her departure and left the village together with Shin. Though Hiruzen tried to persuade Tsunade to stay, she was set on going. He had no choice but to let her go. As for Shin, his leaving actually put Hiruzen's mind at ease. At least he wouldn't have to worry about Shin Uzumaki running loose in the village. Alright, I'm heading to the moon right away. Are you coming with me? Shin asked. Shin had decided to attack the Otsutsuki clan now. Perhaps he could even obtain the Tenseigan. The Tenseigan was an eye on par with the Rinnegan, perhaps even stronger in terms of destructive power. There were two ways to obtain it. One was to have pure Otsutsuki blood in the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan's main family, and the other was to fuse a large number of Byakugan. I'd like to, but how do we get there? Kushina asked. I have my ways. There's a passage to the moon somewhere in the shinobi world. I don't know where it is, but I have other methods. Without that fabled gateway, the only option was brute force, literally flying there. Since you're going, we're definitely tagging along. I want to see the moon, Tsunade said. Alright, let's go then. Shin activated his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and opened a Yamatsu Hirosaka portal. He couldn't teleport directly to the moon yet, not with his current level of power. Perhaps he could with the Rinnegan. But he could use Yamatsu Hirosaka to shorten the distance. They stepped through the portal and emerged high in the sky. The air was thin, and Tsunade and the others felt suffocated. Susanoo, full form. Shin enveloped them all in his complete body Susanoo and unfurled its giant wings. Then, with a powerful thrust, he soared upward toward the stratosphere. I didn't realize Susanoo could actually fly. Tsunade said in awe. Of course. You don't think those wings are just decorations, right? Shin replied with a smirk. How long will it take us to reach the moon? Kushina asked. At top speed, less than a day. Shin calculated based on the Susanu's speed. By channeling tremendous chakra for propulsion, Shin flew faster than a modern rocket. They soon broke through the atmosphere and escaped Earth's gravity, heading towards the moon. They encountered several meteoroids, which the Susanoo easily sliced through. The chakra consumption was immense. Even Madara Uchiha couldn't fly to the moon with his Susanoo. But Shin had the perfect sage body and chakra to spare. Sage mode activate. Shin activated Sage mode, enhancing the Susanoo with Senjutsu chakra. Though the form size didn't change, brilliant red patterns spread across its armor. Their speed increased, and the moon grew closer. I can't take it anymore. I feel sick. Kushina said, then fainted. Makoto and Konan had already fainted, leaving only Tsunade awake, albeit barely. Can't you slow down a bit? Tsunade asked. Sorry, but we need full speed if we want to get there quickly, Shin answered. He didn't want to linger in the silent darkness of space any longer than necessary. Inevitably, Tsunade also succumbed to the dizziness and fainted. Shin didn't wake her up. There was no point. He didn't know how long it took, but time seemed to pass slowly in the silence of space. They finally reached the moon. The 100-meter-tall sage Susanoo stood on the moon's surface and raised its sword. Boom! The sword cleaved the moon's surface, creating a massive chasm. Shin entered the chasm, reaching the moon's interior. I wonder how this was created. Is this the power of a Six Paths level being? Shin looked at the bright interior of the moon. A giant artificial sun hung in the sky. He landed on a floating island and deactivated the Susanoo, then woke up Tsunade and the others. Where are we? Kushina asked, rubbing her eyes. Inside the moon. This is inside the moon? Makoto looked around in surprise. It's so bright. And what's that in the sky? She pointed at the glowing sphere in the sky. It's some kind of artificial sun. If it were the real sun, the moon would melt. Shin shook his head. We made a lot of noise coming in. We've probably alerted the Otsutsuki clan. Let's rest and prepare for battle. The Otsutsuki clan's main and branch families probably hadn't started fighting yet. In other words, Shin might be facing the entire clan at once. Since the Otsutsuki had the purest bloodline of all, he wouldn't underestimate them. The Senju and Uchiha clans were powerful. The Otsutsuki clan, which had been living on the moon, preserving their bloodline, should be even stronger. The divine replication card wouldn't be easy to obtain. But Shin wasn't afraid. He had another divine replication card. He could handle anything. After 2 hours of rest, Shin's chakra had fully recovered. He was at his peak. Tsunade and the others had also recovered from their dizziness. Strange. We made so much noise, but the Otsutsuki clan hasn't noticed? Shin was puzzled. It had been 2 hours, and no one had come. He had used the Susanoo to cut open the moon's surface. The Otsutsuki clan couldn't have missed that. Isn't it better if they haven't noticed? Should we go to that floating island? Kushina pointed at a large island in the distance. That was the largest island here. The Otsutsuki clan was probably there. Chapter 155, Tensigen. It should be on that island over there. Are you all ready? Let's head over and wipe out the entire Otsutsuki clan, leave no one alive. Shin fixed his gaze on the enormous floating island in the distance, eyes brimming with killing intent. Shin, why do you want to destroy the entire Otsutsuki clan? Makoto asked, puzzled by his motive. 2 reasons, Shin answered. One of them I'd rather not discuss. The other is that the Otsutsuki clan plans to destroy our entire world. The first reason was his system mission, but Shin had no intention of revealing that to Makoto and the others. That secret would remain his own for now. What? They want to destroy our whole world? Kushina clenched her fists. Then let's stomp them right now. Alright, let's go. Using Yamatsu Hirasaka, Shin tore open a pitch-black dimensional gate. He led Tsunade, Kushina, Makoto, and Konan through it, arriving on the largest of the floating islands. The thick stench of blood hung in the air. There's blood everywhere. Looks like something's gone down here. Shin frowned. Had the Otsutsuki main and branch families already started fighting? He recalled the differences in ideology. The Otsutsuki branch family believed the shinobi world, created by the Sage of Six Paths, was a colossal failure steeped in endless war and needed to be obliterated. The main family advocated peace. Ultimately, in the original story, the branch family had used many Byakugan to create the Tensigen and annihilated the main family. Tsunade, make sure you 3 protect Konan, Shin said, turning to Tsunade, Kushina, and Makoto. Konan wasn't exactly weak, she was at least at the level of a Tokubetsu Jonin, but this place was far too dangerous. By contrast, Makoto's strength was around quasi-Kage level. Kushina, once she activated Sage Mode, reached Kage level, and Tsunade was also Kage level. As long as they could defend themselves in Konan, Shin had no worries. Don't worry, I'll protect Konan, Makoto said, holding Konan's hand. BOOMMM. A deafening explosion echoed from a distant part of the island. Shin turned his head sharply in that direction. I'll check that out first. Stay here for now. In a flash, he was gone before Makoto and the others could protest. He should be fine. Let's explore the area, Tsunade said. Kushina and Makoto both nodded. Normally, Kushina might have argued about Tsunade giving orders, but given the circumstances, she agreed to follow her lead. Shin arrived at the source of the explosion. He saw a group of Otsutsuki fighting each other. It seemed the main and branch families were indeed at war. This must be another butterfly effect. They shouldn't be fighting this early. Shin muttered to himself. In the original story, the branch family combined numerous Byakugan into a giant Tensigen, then used it to defeat the main family. But now, their eyes were intact. It was easy enough to tell the 2 groups apart by their attire. One side was the branch family, the other was the main family. The main family was already on the brink of destruction, just as in the original. Shin found it almost comical that the so-called main family had so little power to reign in the branch family. Suddenly, his amusement vanished. Shin spotted a certain figure among the branch family, a man whose eyes weren't the usual pale Byakugan. His irises were sky blue. The Tenseigan? Shin was shocked. This was only the second time he had been truly surprised since arriving in this world. The first time was when the system awakened. This wasn't the giant Tenseigan created from many Byakugan. This was the Tenseigan in a human's body. If the first person to have a Tenseigan was Hamura Otsutsuki, or in the future, Tonari Otsutsuki, then who is this guy? Gradually, Shin's surprise turned into excitement. He still possessed a divine replication card. If that really was the genuine Tenseigan, he could replicate it for himself. He had initially planned to find Nagato and copy Madara's Rinnegan, but now that he had encountered the Tenseigan, he might as well copy that instead. And after completing the mission to destroy the Otsutsuki clan, he would receive another divine replication card. He didn't copy the Tenseigan immediately, though. He had to be sure. It would be embarrassing if it wasn't the Tenseigan after all. He concealed his presence and observed the two groups, who had temporarily stopped fighting and were now talking. Clan head, you have lost. If you surrender now and agree to join our plan to wipe out the shinobi world and create a new one, we can still exist as one family. The leader of the Otsutsuki branch spoke to the badly wounded main family leader. Our ancestor ordered us to guard the Gedo statue, not to interfere with the shinobi world. You're only doing this for your own ambition. The main family leader spat blood, forcing himself to stand. Safeguard the Gedo statue? Too late. The people down in the shinobi world have already summoned it away, the leader of the branch family sneered. Madara Uchiha had summoned the demonic statue when he awakened the Rinnegan. Otsutsuki Ryusuke, you've been to the shinobi world, haven't you? The leader of the main family glared at Ryusuke. Yes. Ryusuke didn't deny it. He had indeed been to the shinobi world to obtain the Tenseigan. He knew the method, the pure blood of the Otsutsuki clan and the pure Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. He was from the branch family, but he had pure Otsutsuki blood. And he had obtained the Byakugan of a Hyuga from the main family in the shinobi world. That was how he awakened the Tenseigan. The clan head must have guessed that he had been to the shinobi world because he knew how to awaken the Tenseigan. Ryusuke, our ancestors strictly forbade us from interfering with the shinobi world. Yet you disobeyed those orders, you are a traitor. The leader of the main family yelled. Traitor? No, I'm the hero who will lead the Otsutsuki clan to prosperity. You, the main family, are the traitors who hinder our progress. Ryusuke said calmly. Chapter 156, Awakening the Rinne Tenseigan. If you refuse to surrender, don't blame me for being ruthless, it'll be your honor to die before my Tenseigan. Ryusuke declared. He didn't want to waste his breath. Having gained the Tenseigan, once he eliminated the main family, he would proceed with his plan to destroy the shinobi world. It really is the Tenseigan. In that case, I'll gladly accept it. Now certain it was genuine, Shin didn't hesitate. He activated the divine replication card and targeted Ryusuke's Tenseigan. Instantly, Shin felt a sharp pain in his eyes, forcing them closed for a few seconds. When he reopened them, his irises glowed bright blue just like the Tenseigan. A vast, overwhelming power coursed through his vision. He had believed his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan was already immensely strong, but this was on another level altogether. Incredible! Just as Shin prepared to act, an even more startling transformation occurred. His newly acquired blue Tenseigan rippled, and dark circular rings appeared. The surge of ocular power doubled. Shin touched his eyes. Drawing the Kusanagi blade, he used its polished surface as a mirror. Reflected back at him were eyes that appeared like a bluish version of the Rinnegan. Wait, did I just awaken the Rinnegan? Shin recognized it as neither a pure Tenseigan nor a standard Rinnegan, it was a fusion of both. He realized that his body had already met the conditions to unlock the Rinnegan. He possessed a perfect sage body and an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The brand new Tenseigan simply served as the catalyst to bring it all together. Should I call these the Rinnegan or the Tenseigan? Since they're a fusion, why not call them the Rinne Tenseigan? He wasn't good at naming things, so he kept it simple. You there, hiding in the shadows. Are you going to stay there forever? Ryusuke, having killed the leader of the main family and the remaining members, looked towards Shin's hiding spot. Trying to hide from his Tenseigan was foolish. The Tenseigan inherited all the abilities of the Byakugan, but it was far more powerful. Shin had been discovered the moment he arrived. But Ryusuke had been busy dealing with the main family and hadn't paid attention to him. He hadn't seen Shin as a threat. With the Tenseigan, he believed he was invincible. Are you talking to me? Shin stepped forward, deactivating his Rinna Tenseigan. He stared calmly at Ryusuke and the rest of the branch family. Who else would I be talking to? How did you get onto the moon? Ryusuke's eyes narrowed. An outsider had infiltrated their territory. He was furious. I didn't sneak in. I made quite a grand entrance. You're just deaf. Shin chuckled darkly. You dare speak so arrogantly, weakling from the shinobi world? Spat a branch family member, lunging forward. Arrogance? You worms lurking underground are the ones who act high and mighty. Shin jeered, casually slicing off the attacker's head in one swipe of his blade. Bastard! You're dead! Kill him! Furious shouts erupted from the branch family. You're quite strong. If you join me, I'll forgive you for killing my clansmen. Ryusuke looked at Shin with interest. To be able to reach this place, Shin must be strong. Hey, I just killed your clansmen. Aren't you afraid of demoralizing the others? Shin asked as he wiped the blood off his Kusanagi sword. I am the leader of the Otsutsuki clan. My word is law. Ryusuke said calmly. Let's cut the chatter. I came here for one reason, to wipe out the entire Otsutsuki clan. So, will you all do the honorable thing and end yourselves, or shall I do it? Shin gave them a thin smile. If you choose seppuku, at least you'll leave an intact corpse behind. If I do it... Shin gestured to the corpse. You'll end up like him, head rolling. You worm, clan chief, kill him. The branch family roared in anger. With the main family's leader gone, they now referred to Ryusuke as their own clan chief. No. I'll be the one killing all of you. Shin's expression turned serious. He would use these guys to test his wood release. I've been itching to test out my wood release, let's see how it fares. Wood style, deep forest emergence. Countless trees sprouted from the ground, instantly transforming the area into a forest. The branches and roots came alive, attacking the Otsutsuki. The Otsutsuki had initially underestimated the trees, but they soon realized their mistake. One of them was pierced by a branch and his chakra was absorbed, becoming nourishment for the trees. The trees were incredibly tough, and they could regenerate and absorb chakra. Once you were caught, your chakra would be drained. And even if you destroyed the trees, they would regenerate quickly. The forest spanned dozens of kilometers. No Otsutsuki, except for Ryusuke with his Tenseigan, could escape. Watching them struggle like this does give me a certain grim satisfaction. Shin admitted, surveying the scene calmly. At the same time, Tsunade and the others caught sight of the massive expanse of greenery spreading across half the floating island. Is that wood release? Did Shin create that? Tsunade sounded almost breathless with excitement. Shin had really learned wood release. She hadn't had much hope when she gave him the scroll. After all, no one in the Senju clan had been able to awaken wood release, despite years of research. But Shin had done it. Tsunade was overjoyed. Wood release was special to her. Chapter 157, The Battle on the Moon, Shin vs. Otsutsuki clan head. Tsunade-nichan, should we go over there? Makoto glanced at Tsunade, waiting for her decision. Tsunade nodded firmly, then signaled for Kushina, Makoto, and Konan to follow. In no time, they caught up to Shin. Upon seeing him, Tsunade grabbed his hand in excitement. Tsunade, what's got you all fired up? Shin asked, puzzled. Shin, did you really cast this wood release? Have you actually learned it? Her eyes shone with hope. Of course. There's nothing I can't learn. Even Kekkei Genkai are no big deal for me. Shin made a confident claim. But he quickly got serious again. Tsunade, Kushina, Mikoto, there's a tough opponent here, so please make sure Konan stays safe. You'd best clear off this floating island. I don't want anyone getting hurt in the crossfire. Shin was thinking of Otsutsuki Ryusuke, who possessed the Tensigen. Fighting someone like that was bound to get destructive. Understood. Realizing Shin wasn't joking, Tsunade wasted no time. Whatever questions she had could wait. If Shin was this concerned, the enemy had to be formidable. She refused to be a liability. I'll send you away myself, Shin added. He activated Yamatsu Hirasaka and opened a dimensional gate, ushering Tsunade, Kushina, Mikoto, and Konan through. Only once they were safely off the floating island did Shin turn his attention back to the massive forest he'd created with wood release. He zeroed in on Ryusuke. Everyone else from the Otsutsuki clan was just cannon fodder in his eyes. At that moment, Ryusuke was furiously blasting away at the living trees. Although his attacks blew them apart, they kept regrowing at a relentless pace. You forced my hand. Ryusuke snarled and unleashed the Tensigen's repulsive force, instantly leveling dozens of kilometers of forest. The entire island practically got flattened. He hadn't used that move sooner because he hadn't wanted to hurt his fellow branch members. But apparently, his patience had run out. Ryusuke was cold enough to abandon them if need be. He believed that so long as he lived, the Otsutsuki line wouldn't die out. Shin's expression changed. He wasn't shocked by the Tensigen's power, but by the destruction of the Otsutsuki corpses. He wasn't concerned about the corpses themselves, but about their Byakugan. A large number of Byakugan could be used to create the Tensigen. He already had the Tensigen, but he wouldn't mind having another one. Now, even the corpses were gone. Damn it, you think you're the only one who can pull off a Shinra Tensei? Without hesitation, Shin activated his Rinna Tensigen and used Shinra Tensei. Shinra Tensei was a technique that used repulsive force to repel objects. It was a basic application of the Rinnegan and Tensigen. The most basic ability of both eyes was to control repulsive and attractive forces. Of course, they had other abilities, but repulsive and attractive forces were the most fundamental. Shin, with both the Rinnegan and Tensigen, could naturally use a more powerful Shinra Tensei than Ryusuke. The fusion of the two eyes wasn't simply 1 + 1 = 2. Their combined power was far greater. The powerful repulsive force sent the island plummeting towards the ground. Ryusuke was thrown through the island. Bancho Tenin, Universal Pull. Sensing that Ryusuke was still alive, Shin immediately followed up with the Universal Pull ability. Whereas Shinra Tensei blasts targets away, Bancho Tenin reels them in. A sudden influx of gravity yanked Ryusuke towards Shin. How do you have Tensigen powers? Ryusuke's composure cracked as he hurtled forward. Before, he hadn't cared about Shin at all. Now, the fear was obvious in his eyes. It's all thanks to you. Consider this my way of returning the favor by sending you to the afterlife. Shin gave a chilling smirk. Don't think you can kill me so easily. Ryusuke flared his Tensigen power again, breaking free of Bancho Tenin's pull. Then he assumed the Tensigen chakra mode. Shin watched, intrigued. Unlike Tonari's Tensigen chakra mode, which was bathed in green energy, Ryusuke's aura blazed a vivid red. Shin only blinked once in surprise. Then he shrugged. Guess it's like Susanoo, different users, different colors. Once enveloped in Tensigen chakra mode, Ryusuke's strength spiked dramatically. He could even produce orb-like projectiles akin to truth-seeking balls, capable of offense and defense. Just how strong is he now? Shin wondered, pondering that Ryusuke was already half a step into 6 paths level before. Now he was clearly stronger, probably close to the same power as 6 paths Naruto or Sasuke in the future. Not truly a full-fledged 6 paths being, but enough to scratch at that tier. Shin himself also sat on the threshold of 6 paths level. He had the raw might, yet was still short of the real deal. Sage mode. Shin could also activate Tensigan Chakra mode, but he didn't. He wanted to compare Sage mode to Tensigan Chakra mode.
Senjutsu Chakra shouldn't be weaker than 6 paths power, theoretically.
When Shin switched to Sage mode, there was no dramatic marking or transformation on his face.
Yet he was indeed drawing on natural energy.
Come on, Shin beckoned to Ryusuke.
So far, you're the strongest foe I've run into. Don't disappoint me.
Shin felt a rush of exhilaration. He'd rarely faced anyone near his own level of power. Even though Ryusuke wasn't quite his equal, it was close enough to make this fight interesting.
Chapter 158, Mywood Release, True Several Thousand Hands, Need a Handicap? Sage Art, Great Flame Rasengan.
A colossal fire-infused Rasengan materialized in Shin's hand. He hurled it at Ryusuke. Even though Ryusuke was in Tensigan Chakra mode, he still sensed mortal danger from that swirling inferno. Frowning, Ryusuke threw a small, glowing red orb to intercept, similar to Tonari's green sphere in the original tale, capable of draining chakra from a target's jutsu or body.
Normally, it should have devoured an oncoming jutsu and fired it back.
But the moment the red orb collided with Shin's fiery Rasengan, it dissolved with barely any resistance.
The Rasengan pressed on, closing in on Ryusuke. Impossible. Ryusuke's eyes widened.
His orb was supposed to absorb any form of chakra, but it had done nothing. Unaware that Shin's Rasengan was filled with Sage Chakra, Ryusuke never realized its draining function wouldn't work on nature energy.
In the split second Ryusuke stood there in shock, Shin seized the opening.
He flashed right in front of him and landed a kick to Ryusuke's face.
Boom! Ryusuke crashed headfirst into the ground, leaving a deep crater beneath the island's surface.
Don't get lost in thought while fighting me,
Shin remarked quietly. Moments later, Ryusuke came blasting out of the debris once more, battered but still in the fight. Tensigan Chakra mode sharply boosted his durability. Ordinary attacks just wouldn't be enough to finish him. I'll kill you, Ryusuke snarled, wiping blood from his mouth.
His twisted expression made him look demonic.
Kill me? Let's see you try,
Shin taunted, vanishing in a blur and uppercutting him in the chin.
Crack!
Ryusuke shot upwards like a rocket, bursting right through the moon's surface.
Shin used Yamatsu Hirasaka to slip into a portal. When he reappeared, he was already behind Ryusuke on the lunar surface.
Wasting no time, Shin pounded Ryusuke's back with a flurry of blows.
Within seconds, he unleashed hundreds of punches, leaving afterimages in the air. Even the Tensigan Chakra mode's enhanced defenses couldn't fully handle that relentless assault. You're still alive after all that?
Tougher than I expected, Shin said, eyeing Ryusuke's body where it lay on the ground. The surrounding terrain looked like it had been hit by a meteor shower. Ryusuke's skeleton was visibly twisted, though he remained barely recognizable as human and was somehow recovering at an alarming rate, making Shin wonder if the man possessed a perfect sage body of his own.
Summoning Jutsu. Ryusuke summoned a massive golem, similar to Hamura Otsutsuki's golem.
It was powerful enough to suppress the Nine Tails.
Once summoned, it wouldn't vanish as long as the Tensigan user lived. Even if destroyed, it would quickly regenerate. Controlled by Ryusuke, the stone figure launched an attack on Shin. Heh, let's dance.
Shin looked at the golem and chuckled.
Sage art, with style, true several thousand hands.
From the surface of the moon, an enormous thousand-armed Buddha erupted, so massive that the ground sank several meters under its weight. Ryusuke's summoned statue, which could suppress the Nine Tails, now looked like a child's toy in comparison.
What is that? Ryusuke murmured, face going slack in disbelief. How about I give you a two-hands handicap? Shin teased.
He gestured to the Buddha's innumerable arms. Ryusuke stared, at a complete loss for words.
Top transformed Buddha.
Wasting no more time on banter, Shin commanded the colossal wooden figure to unleash a volley of punches and chops at Ryusuke and his stone statue.
Within moments, that mighty golem was reduced to rubble. Ryusuke tried to defend himself using red chakra orbs like pseudo-truth-seeking balls, but they were no match for the unrelenting barrage.
The moon's surface cracked violently, leaving a gigantic crater behind. If the moon itself had consciousness, it would surely be cursing them out for trashing it this way.
Silver Wheel Reincarnation Explosion.
Summoning an enormous storm of gravitational force, Ryusuke pierced right through the thousand-armed Buddha, carving a massive hole in the wooden behemoth.
Not bad at all.
Shin mused, watching Ryusuke spit up blood, battered and shaky but still refusing to surrender.
I guess wood release alone won't finish you off.
Uchiha Madara survived this technique, so I'm not surprised someone like you, who surpasses him, could endure it.
Shin said evenly. Ryusuke glared at Shin.
You're the strongest opponent I've fought, I acknowledge your power, but this is where it ends.
Golden Will Reincarnation Explosion.
Ryusuke gathered every bit of the Tensigen's might, forging an enormous golden chakra sword that split sky and land alike.
He slashed it down at Shin, a blow said to be capable of splitting the entire moon in half. Shin didn't move to dodge.
He faced the attack head-on.
Dojutsu, Takamagara. In a flash, the towering golden sword struck Shin's body, only to vanish without a trace.
It was as though it never existed. Then, abruptly, the same golden blade reappeared in front of Ryusuke and slashed toward him instead. Takamagara was the new dojutsu Shin had awakened after merging his Rinnegan and Tensigen.
It absorbed any incoming attack, be it ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, or even six paths, level strikes, and reflected it back in full force. A truly invincible defense and counter. Thus, Ryusuke's Golden Will Reincarnation Explosion was promptly turned against him. Chapter 159, Mission Complete. Leaving the Moon. Shin didn't check on Ryusuke's condition after his attack split the moon in two. He immediately used Yamatsu Hirasaka to return to the moon's interior, where Tsunade and the others were. Is everyone okay? Shin asked, glancing between Tsunade, Kushina, Makoto, and Konan.
Whoa! The moon just got sliced clean in half.
Kushina exhaled shakily. Do you realize how terrified we were? We only saw a burst of gold light, and the next thing we knew, the moon was split apart like an apple.
She wasn't exaggerating. Moments earlier, she, Tsunade, Makoto, and Konan had been in the moon's interior when that blinding slash tore the celestial body in two. Fortunately, Shin appeared soon after, quelling their fears. Seeing him safe and sound immediately restored their composure.
Thank goodness. Tsunade murmured, relief evident on her face. By the way, Shin, is your opponent dead? Tsunade asked. Not entirely sure, I didn't check. He might still be alive.
I was more worried about you four.
Shin admitted.
Shin was worried about them and hadn't checked on Ryusuke. But he didn't think Ryusuke would die so easily.
You should stay with me. It's safer. Shin said.
They returned to the moon's surface together.
Sure enough, Otsutsuki Ryusuke was still alive, though missing his left arm.
The moon itself was sundered, leaving a staggering fissure visible from horizon to horizon.
The moon was split in two, and you're still alive? You're tough. Shin remarked, eyes narrowing at Ryusuke's crazed expression.
Ryusuke had managed to dodge the fatal blow at the last moment, but the attack was too fast.
He lost an arm.
But it was better than losing his life. And it was his own attack that had injured him. If he had died from his own attack, he would never have rested in peace. Having lost an arm, Ryusuke was enraged. He charged at Shin, intent on killing him.
Susanoo!
Shin manifested his complete body Susanoo, not for Ryusuke's sake but to shield Kushina and the others.
Stay inside Susanoo, Shin said. Even if he left the Susanoo, it would remain active as long as he continued supplying it with chakra. Let me show you my strongest taijutsu technique. Shin's expression turned serious. Ultimate taijutsu, Starfall Strike. Shin punched Ryusuke.
The ground shattered, and the moon's surface collapsed from the force of the blow.
It was like a meteor strike. Ryusuke couldn't move.
The immense power distorted space itself.
Ryusuke's body was obliterated, leaving only his head.
Shin had deliberately spared the head. The Tensigen was in those eyes, after all.
Your Tensigen is mine now. Without hesitation, Shin reached out and plucked out Ryusuke's eyes.
It was a gruesome sight. But then he was stunned. The Tensigen had turned into a Byakugan, worthless to him.
I forgot. Shin was annoyed.
In the original story, Tonari Otsutsuki had stolen Hanabi Hyuga's eyes and evolved them into the Tensigen, but when he removed them, they reverted back to Byakugan.
I'll put them back. Shin placed the eyes back into Ryusuke's head and used medical ninjutsu to heal the injury.
But they were still Byakugan.
Just then, the system spoke in his mind.
Congratulations, Master. You have completed the mission to destroy the Moon's Otsutsuki clan.
Reward, Divine Replication Card X1.
The system's voice made Shin feel a bit better. Well, I've already gained more than I expected.
I shouldn't be greedy.
His strength had increased tremendously. He had copied the Tensigen, evolved his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan into the Rinnegan, and then fused the Rinnegan and Tensigen. On top of that, his self-created Starfall Strike no longer strained his body to use. He was significantly stronger. The technique's power rivaled even the Night Guy unleashed by 8 Gates Might Guy in the original timeline.
The Otsutsuki clan on the moon is gone. It's time to go back. I wonder if Kagaya Otsutsuki can still be revived after the moon was damaged like this.
Shin looked at the shattered moon.
He couldn't sense Kagaya's presence. Perhaps she was sealed in another dimension within the moon. He was glad Kagaya wasn't part of the mission. He wouldn't have been able to complete it. I went a little overboard.
Shin looked at the ravaged moon, then used his Rinne Tensigen to manipulate gravity. Under his direction, gravitational forces pulled the two halves of the moon back together. The result was still cratered and scarred, but at least it was in one piece.
With that done, he returned to Tsunade, Kushina, Makoto, and Konan. All set. Let's leave. Finally. Kushina breathed. But how do we get back? We're not flying again, are we?
She still remembered the unpleasant experience of flying to the moon.
No, we don't have to fly this time. It's much easier now. Shin opened a Yamatsu Hirosaka portal.
This portal led directly to Earth. He couldn't do this before, but his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan had evolved into the Rinne Tensigen. His power had increased tremendously. His Yamatsu Hirosaka had also been enhanced. He could now open a portal from the moon to Earth. He wasn't truly 6 paths level yet, but his strength was comparable. He had the power to create a portal across such a vast distance. They stepped through the portal and returned to their home in the land of whirlpools.
We're back? If it was this easy, why did we fly here in the first place? Kushina grumbled. I couldn't manage it before, but I've leveled up a bit since then, see?
Shin explained, pointing to his eyes still active in Rinne Tensigen mode.
Tsunade, after a moment of stunned silence, leaned in. Right. What's going on with your eyes? They look completely different. This isn't the Sharingan we're used to.
Tsunade asked, looking at his beautiful eyes.
Chapter 160, actually, I'm not tired.
Tsunade, Kushina, Makoto, and Konan surrounded Shin, their eyes fixed on his Rinne Tensigen. The Rinnegan was powerful, but it lacked aesthetic appeal and wasn't particularly attractive. It wasn't even as good-looking as the Mangekyo Sharingan. But after fusing with the Tensigen, it glowed with a vibrant, mesmerizing hue, strangely beautiful. Shin was thrilled by its immense power, of course, but the fact that it also looked cool was a bonus. They're basically the result of merging the Rinnegan and Tensigen. Shin explained, seeing their curiosity. What? You obtained the Rinnegan? Tsunade was shocked. She had been about to ask about wood release, but that was forgotten now. Is the Rinnegan that powerful? Konan asked, glancing at Tsunade's astonished expression. The Rinnegan is legendary, revered as the apex of the 3 great dojutsu, the eyes of the Sage of 6 Paths, said to create or destroy entire worlds, Makoto explained.
The Rinnegan's existence wasn't a secret. It was a legend known by most people. Then what's a Tensigan? Kushina asked, turning to Shin. Well, if the Sharingan's pinnacle is the Rinnegan, the Byakugan's ultimate evolution is the Tensigan. They're equal in rank, two different branches of supreme ocular power. The Sharingan can evolve into the Rinnegan? Makoto was stunned. To be precise, you need the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan combined with the perfect Sage Body, a fusion of Uchiha and Senju lineages, basically. That triggers the Rinnegan. Shin shrugged. So the Rinnegan is an evolution of the Sharingan? If you hadn't said it, I wouldn't have believed it. Tsunade was shocked. She had always thought the Rinnegan was a separate dojutsu. Most people thought the same. Few knew the truth. So the Byakugan can also evolve? By the way, why did the Otsutsuki clan also have the Byakugan? Kushina recalled the Otsutsuki she had seen on the moon. They share the same ancestor. It's not surprising they both have the Byakugan. The Otsutsuki clan on the moon are descendants of the Sage of Six Paths' younger brother. The Sage of Six Paths had a brother? Why haven't I heard of this? Kushina asked in surprise. I don't know. Shin shook his head. The Sage of Six Paths was a legend known throughout the shinobi world, but there were no legends about Hamura Otsutsuki. Even though Hamura had moved to the moon, there should still be some legends about him. But Shin didn't care. So there are things you don't know? I thought you knew everything, Kushina said, hugging Shin from behind. Tsunade and Makoto glared at her. Kushina, get off of him. Shin just went through a tough battle. He's tired, Tsunade said. Actually, I'm not tired at all, Shin corrected cheerfully. He certainly didn't mind a soft body resting on his back. At that, Kushina grinned smugly at Tsunade, making Tsunade's brow twitch in annoyance. Kushina, maybe you and I should step outside for a quick spar? Tsunade said in a dangerously calm tone. No, thanks, Kushina blurted, shaking her head. She wasn't about to jump into a fight she couldn't win, especially not after Tsunade had recently trounced her. An awkward hush fell over the room. Kushina remained latched onto Shin's back, enjoying herself thoroughly. Shin, on the other hand, began to sweat under the twin glares of Tsunade and Makoto. Somehow, the intensity of their combined looks felt more lethal than Ryusuke's Tensigan. Ahem, Tsunade, Makoto, can you stop staring at me like that? It's uncomfortable, Shin said. Oh, so you're feeling uncomfortable? I can give you a thorough checkup. Tsunade retorted. She stepped forward and tried to yank Kushina away by force, actually starting to pull at Shin's clothes. Hey, Tsunade, not so rough. It's broad daylight. If you want to do something, at least wait till night. Shin sputtered, though his lack of resistance showed he wasn't entirely opposed to the idea. Cut that out. Kushina and Makoto intervened, tugging Tsunade away from him. Kushina in particular looked ready to bite if Tsunade didn't back off. Just then, Konan chimed in. Shin and I have some questions about training, Konan said, pulling Shin away. She grabbed his hand and started walking him out of the room, leaving Kushina, Tsunade, and Makoto momentarily stunned. Now you're happy? Shin's gone. Kushina said after releasing Tsunade. Makoto, you're still holding on to me? Tsunade glanced at Makoto, who blushed and let go. Shin followed Konan outside and helped her with her training. Konan was a diligent student. She felt she was lagging behind Kushina and Makoto, so she trained hard. With Shin's help, she had even developed her paper ninjutsu. Her paper ninjutsu was powerful, but it had a weakness: oil. Once the paper was soaked in oil, the jutsu couldn't be used. Paper shuriken. Konan threw a paper shuriken. It was made of paper, but its power was no different from a normal shuriken. And it was easier to carry. I feel like my paper ninjutsu isn't very strong. It can only deal with ordinary shinobi. Konan said, looking at the paper shuriken's power. It still needs development. Maybe one day your paper ninjutsu will be very powerful. And you can learn other jutsu too. Shin comforted her. Conan nodded. Shin had taught her many other powerful jutsu. She just hadn't mastered them yet. Shin had taught her all the jutsu in Konoha's Forbidden Scroll. Of course, she couldn't learn them all. Normal jutsu were fine, but the powerful S-rank jutsu were difficult, and her chakra couldn't handle the consumption.
Shin watched her train, lost in thought.
He was thinking about how to become a true Six Paths level shinobi.
That wraps up this part of What If Copy System in Naruto.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Just a quick reminder, the stories, What If Reborn in Naruto World and What If Transmigrated as Harry Potter, are going on hold soon, as we have almost caught up with the author.
So once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the next project should be on this channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if becoming a mangaka in One Piece world? What if dragon deck user in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal.
What if Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader? I will be setting up a poll for this, so please vote in the poll and let me know which 2 stories you'd like to see next on the channel. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.